All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, call I am La, I ain't know where you're Howard by Shimmy or Shai by Shim Kakadash. I'm going to give double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And I want to say double honors. I want to give double honors to the to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And I want to say Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, just a little quick lesson on, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. And you can see uh, who the wicked is and by the way that they're ruling the earth, okay? All right, so I'm going to start off with this. This is Job chapter 9, verse 24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is it? All right? We know this as Esau Edom, the so-called white man, all right? He is the one that's in rulership right now. He is the one that has covered the faces of the judges, all right? I.e., by way of iconoclasm, okay? He covered up the faces of the Lord and the disciples, okay, and Yahweh. Okay, when I say the Lord, I mean Yahweh Shai, because he's our direct Lord, okay, because we cannot go to the Heavenly Father without going through Yahweh Shai, all right? So, Esau Edom has, through iconoclasm and I think it was like around the 14th century and the Renaissance period, has covered up the faces of the judges of the world, which is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, all right, by painting all their faces white, okay, all right, or scratching out their faces, or some type of defamation or destruction of the paintings and historical things that show you that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians were in rulership, all right. But the Lord is in control of all things. We have to remember that, right? So this is, I think it's Daniel 4. This is Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones to the intent, all right? So this word is given out so the individuals may know and understand that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. So when there's a kingdom that's set up, whether it be the Syrian Babylonian Empire or this empire that we live in now, the NATO and the EU, right, the beast, all right, the Lord rules within those kingdoms, okay? The Lord sets up those rulers and brings them down, all right? Like it's going to say here. It says, and giveth it unto whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men, okay? All right, the basis of men, all right? When you look at this word, let me see right here, basis, okay? It says lowest, okay? The lowest man, all right? The lowest of the nations, okay? All right, that's in rulership right now, who has the world in their control is Esau Edom, okay? So-called white man, all right? If you look up, pictures of cavemen or Neanderthals, you'll see Esau Edom, all right? When you look up the thing within Mount Seir, all right, you'll see that a so-called white man has ruled and lived there, because you can look at the architecture and then look at the architecture of America and Rome and Greek and the Greek empires and compare it to where Esau Edom has laid his head, okay? All right. So let me get Genesis. This is Genesis chapter 27. And I'm going to start at verse 38. No, hold on, let me see. 32. It says, and Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son Esau, thy firstborn son. So at this point in time in history, all right, where I'm reading from in verse 32, Jacob already received the blessing from Isaac, which is the blessing which is to rule in the future kingdom, okay? All right, the future kingdom, I mean future from this point, all right, the kingdom of Yahweh Shai, all right, which has been set up as we, Lord will, we'll get it in Romans the 9th chapter, right? But it's been set up this way. All right, so verse 33, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, where is he that hath taken venison and brought it to me? I have eaten all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, he shall be blessed. All right, and yes, Jacob shall be blessed because he's going to be in the kingdom, living forever, having the law, statutes, commandments in our inward parts. All right, and ruling the world. All right, and all known parts and unknown parts of the universes. Okay, all right, because the Lord told us. See where it's at. He told us that in his father's house there are many mansions. I can't find it off the top of my head. Let me look it up. Oh, it's John 14. So, like I said, Luke. But it's John 14 and 2. In my father's house are many mansions. All right. All right. We know the Heavenly Father's house is up there above, the firmament dome of this earth. Okay. All right. Or the firmament, whether it be uh, it's above the earth. Okay, all right. There's three heavens. The heaven that we the so-called heaven that we're living in now. That's the white man's heaven. Then the heaven where the skies are. Okay, and then the heaven where the Heavenly Father sits. Okay, so you got to think Yahweh sits above all. So his his since he sits above all, where he sits at, there's going to be more than what we can see. So there's going to be many universes and galaxies, or whatever it is that's beyond the universe or galaxy that we don't understand, that we can and will inhabit it. Right? That's why Isaac said that he shall be blessed. Okay, all right. And this is the blessing that Esau missed out on. Okay, because it was all set up for it to happen like that. Right? So verse 34, it says, and when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and have taken away thy blessing. All right, well, Jacob's name is Yaquab is to supplant, right? It says, and he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? And for Salakia, it says, for he has supplanted me these two times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he taketh away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? All right, well, Esau sold his birthright for pottage, okay? And so Jacob didn't take it, all right? Esau gave it away, all right? All right, this is Genesis chapter 26, verse 29. All right, and Jacob sod pottage, and Esau came from the field and was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with some red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore his name is called Edom. All right, and in my footnotes it says literally red. All right, and it said, verse 31, and Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what shall this birthright do for me? And Jacob said, swear unto me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So when Esau said to his father that, Jacob supplanted him out of his birthright, that was a bold-faced lie, right? He gave it up. Um, and verse 36 in Genesis 27, it says, verse 37, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and with wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? So that's the blessing that we receive, right? Lord over Esau, okay, all right, because the firstborn is supposed to get the birthright to have, everything that the father inherited. Now that has come to us, right, through the mercies and the grace of Yahweh Shem Shai, right? And all his brethren have I given to him for servants. So all the other nations are going to be servants unto us, all right, servants for us, right? And it says, and with corn and wine have I sustained thee, and what shall I do unto thee, my son? So the substance of the earth, all right, is going to sustain us, man. We're going to have all the resources, all right? This is how we're going to be blessed, and it's going to be abundant. It's going to be never ending. And we're going to use them in righteousness because under Yahweh Shai, we're going to have the knowledge and the ability to use everything as it has been purposed by the Heavenly Father, all right? Verse 38, it says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing? Bless my father, bless me, even me, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword thou shalt live and serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke off from off thy neck. So Esau has received the benefits of using his sword, okay, into recouping resources from individuals, all right, gaining, starting from the Greek period, which we're going to get into some Greek history, all right, because this is where Esau Edom's reign began as a world ruler in the Greek and during the Greek time frame, all right. So with his sword, he was able to conquer nations, take and steal their resources, control the minds of people, and make the world as what it is that you see today. There was an image that I seen on Instagram from one of the brothers' pages where it had those two Edomites, Lewis and Clark, and some Gadites standing behind them, and they said, imagine what we could do with this land. And then in the next picture, within that same still frame of Lois and Clark, right, you have um, things that you see set up in the city nowadays. So they just wasted the land, okay? They destroyed the land. They got McDonald's, malls, Golden Corrals, gyms, landfills, gas stations, cars running around on, gas and, putting those fumes out into the atmosphere, fucking up the atmosphere. You got, you got the chemtrails, you got the poisonous food from these places. You got all kind of stuff that Esau Edom, as the ruler of the world, has set up and given the world and destroyed it. He's slowly destroying the world. That's why the Lord is going to destroy him, right? Let me get this. It's popping to my mind. Let me see if I can find it. All right, I can't find it, but there's a precept where the Lord said, where it's in the scriptures where it says, the Lord's going to destroy those that destroyed the earth. All right, so they, just me thinking as a man, that goes even into me just speaking as a man. When we be out here littering, throwing stuff outside the windows of the car, blah blah blah, that's hurting the earth, man. All right, but more distinctively towards Esau because he is draining the earth of his resources by pollution and other things like that, right? So, going back into the lesson, let me go to Daniel chapter 2, and this is going to show you where in the dream of Nebuchadnezzar, where the Lord set up Esau, right? We read about it in Genesis where Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau, and now we're going to read briefly about the statue and how the statue plays a role into how kingdoms are, what kingdoms were set up, all right, through Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, so this is Daniel chapter 2, and I'm going to start at 32. And it says, the image of this head, fine gold, Salakia, the image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver. All right, the fine gold represents the Babylonians. All right, his breast and his arms of silver, the Medo-Persian Empire. All right, his belly and his thighs of brass. That's the Greek Empire. Okay, this is where the start of Esau Edom had begun. All right, started with Alexander the Great. All right, so-called the Great, but he was an Edomite. All right. Nothing great about Edomites, okay? The only thing great about Edomites is going to be their great destruction that they have reaped upon themselves, okay? It says, verse 33, his legs of iron, his feet part iron and part clay, all right? His legs of iron represent the Roman Empire, and his feet part of iron and part clay represent the NATO and the EU, man, all right? That the system that we're living in now, which the Lord is going to destroy, is, as we keep reading, verse 34, thou sawest till a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were iron and clay, and break them into pieces, and broke all the kingdoms into pieces, broke down the whole statue, all right? But when you are defeated, you're defeated, the end of you is your feet, right? So just as it is in Genesis, the 25th chapter, where Jacob and Esau came out, Jacob held the heel of Esau to pull him down, right? And Yahweh Shai is the one that's going to bring down all these kingdoms, all right, and set up his kingdom, all right? So I'm going to show this image right quick so you can get let me see if I got it in my phone. So you can see, I know brothers think it like millions of times. All right, here we go. All right, the statue. All right, you got the Babylonian Empire, the head of gold, the Medo-Persian Empire. All right, the bronze. All right, the brass. Okay, same thing. The Grecian Empire. All right, which is the start of the so-called white man's empire. Then you got the Roman Empire. Then you got the revised Roman Empire, which consists of the NATO and the EU. Right, which are all Edomites, man. Okay. All right, all Edomites. Okay. All right. So it says here, in regards to the Grecian Empire, all right, it says it started in 331 BC. Alexander the Edomite conquers Persia. All right, and we're going to read a little bit on that. And it says Alexander dies, his four generals split up the empire. All right, we're going to read that as well. All right, and the four empires, the four generals that split up his empire were Cassander, Ptolemy, Seleucid. I can't read the other person, but all right. Dang. Let me. I don't even want to get the name wrong, man, because it's not legible for me to read it. But nonetheless, all right. And let me see. So this is my source, worldhistory.org. All right. So what I did was I went to ancient history right here. All right, and I typed in Greeks, right? Then I scrolled through, looked a little bit for some stuff, and then I got this article called Macedonia, all right? And then here you can see it's the Edomite's face, all right? Just as you would see on the bust or the statues of heads of individuals, they would be from like, the time period from when they started making those things, the Roman and the Greek Empire time period, you would see a face just like that, an Edomite type face, right? So it says Macedonia was an ancient kingdom located in the north of the Greek peninsula, first inhabited by the Macedonian Mac, Macedoni tribe, who, according to Herodotus, were the first to call themselves Hellenes, later applied to all Greeks, and who gave the land their name. The kingdom was founded 7th century BCE by Carneades, who seemed semi mythical and named after the god of Macedon, also given as Macedonus Macedon, and a son of Zeus. All right, so going into the idols, right? It says for centuries the Macedoni had little to do with southern Greece, and the Greeks considered them barbarians who were useful only for raw material. All right, so for the production of raw material. All right, trees could be an example of raw material. The tree can be made into a table. The table can be used in your house. Right. It says were only useful for the raw materials their region provided, especially timber for shipbuilding. The Macedoni, for their part, held the Greeks in equal contempt. During the Persian invasion of 480 BCE, Macedonia was under Persian rule and compelled to provide troops for the invading force. The participation on the Persian side did not seem to have worsened the poor relations between the Macedonian and southern Greece in any way. Following the Greek victory and the expulsion of the Persians, Macedonia preferred to remain aloof from the rest of Greece, and squabbles and fighting which constantly took place between the Greek city-states and southern states did the same with Macedonia. This is going to the point right here. After all this, after, all of this changed under the rule of King Philip II, all right, which is a Shalom, bro. Yahabashim Shabrakatah. All of this changed under the rule of King Philip II, who systematically brought the southern Greek city-states under his control. All right, and we know this guy's Edomite, right? He's Philip the Macedonian. All right, and his the time he reigned was from 359 to 336 BC. All right. So I'm gonna read it again. All of this changed under the rule of King Philip II, or Philip the Macedonian, who systematically brought the southern Greek city-states under his control. After Philip's assassination in 336 BCE, his throne was passed to his son Alexander. It says the Great, but I'm gonna call him the Edomite because that's who he is. And he reigned from 336 BC to 323 BCE. It says who would spread Greek culture. All right, this is what Esau Edom has done, right? Through the force of the sword that he was blessed with, right? As we read in Genesis, the 27th chapter, it says, who would spread Greek culture and civilization across the known world of antiquity. Macedonia fell out of favor with southern Greece after the death of Alexander, with many Greeks resenting Macedonian rule and virulent antagonism expressed toward anything even remotely Macedonian. Macedonia continued as an autonomous and powerful kingdom until it was annexed by Rome along with the rest of Greece in 146 BCE. All right, so let's get into the Apocrypha right quick, and then we're going to speak on First Maccabees, where it speaks about what we just read in regards to uh, Alexander the Crete, man. All right, the Edomite. All right. This is First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1, and this is the start of Esau Edom's rulership. All right. It says, and it happened that after Philip, that Salakia, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who we just read about. All right, he ruled from 336, 359 BC to 336 BCE. Right. Um, the it says, what is this? All right, it says, who came out of the land of Chittim and had smitten Darius the king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead first over Greece. All right, so the war that happened between Alexander the Edomite and Darius the third, I believe it was Darius the third. It was the Battle of Gilgamah in 331 BC. All right, and verse 2 in First Maccabees, it says, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. All right, ruling by his sword that his father Isaac gave him. Okay, all right, to take the land, take resources, to get people under his control. Same thing that Esau Edom is doing now. All right, just because it happened in 331 BC or about the time that Alexander the Great happened, it's still happening, but it just happened in a different form. Esau Edom is not all out, with the sword taking over. He's taking over systematically, like it said Alexander the Great's father did. He, like, when in an article that I read, all right, that was on the Ancient History uh, Encyclopedia, right? It said, verse 3, it says, and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Is not the earth quiet before Esau today? Yes, okay. All right, there's uproars and whatnot, but Esau Edom has the power to silence that. Okay, all right. It went from swords and close combat to long range projectile missiles and drone strikes and direct energy weapons and all types of other nonsense that Esau Edom has going on nowadays, as far as the force of the sword that was given unto him by way of his blessing, right, that he cried for uh, from Isaac, right? It says, verse 3 again, continuing on in verse 3, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. All right, well, we know what the Lord does to the proud, man, okay? And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and he parted his kingdom among them while he yet was alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years from 3 let me get it, because I don't remember off the top of my head. So from 336 BC to like 323 BC, right? Those 12 years. And the servants bear rule every one in his place. So the four individuals, Ptolemy, Seleucid, Cassander, and I can't remember the third one, and I can't see it in this still image. It's kind of blurry. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Okay, so evils were multiplied in the earth by way of the rule of Esau Edom. But remember, the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai set this man up to rule, as we had read earlier in Daniel 4:17. Okay, so Lord, will you understand that the earth is given into the hands of the wicked by way of history? Okay, and by way more biblical prophecy. Okay, more importantly, biblical prophecy, because without biblical prophecy, you would not get the history. If the Lord did not speak it through prophecy, it would not come to pass while time that while time goes by. So Lord will, you was edified. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto you. How about Shemel Shai, by Shema Rakakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who grew well and teach well. And I want to say Shalom to the hopeful elect, Kwam Yasharala, and Mawaf Abba. Shalom Aki, how about Shemel Shai, Bakatah, Shalom, Kwam Yasharala.